Hello. It's so good to be with you again today. I hope you've had a great week and everything is going well for you. And I welcome you today to our Sunday school lesson for the 30th of August. It's from Mark, the fifth chapter, the first 20 verses of that chapter. And the title of it is Great Mercy. We're going to continue today in our unit where we've been looking at neighbor and hospitality as combined themes. This is our last lesson of this unit. We'll begin some new material on next Sunday. Uh, I want you to be thinking about neighbor and hospitality as we read this passage today from Mark 5. I'd like to do something a little different this week. I don't usually read the passage to you, but I think it may help a little bit for me to do that this time. And so uh, let's listen together as we look over these verses. Mark 5, chapter 5, beginning with verse 1. They went across the lake to the region of the Gerasenes, where Jesus got out of the boat. A man with an evil spirit came from the tombs to meet him. This man lived in the tombs, and no one could bind him any more, not even with a chain, for he had often been chained hand and foot. But he tore the chains apart and broke the irons on his feet. No one was strong enough to subdue him. Night and day among the tombs and in the hills, he would cry out and cut himself with stones. When he saw Jesus from a distance, he ran and fell on his knees in front of him. He shouted at the top of his voice, "What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? Swear to God that you won't torture me." For Jesus had said to him, "Come out of this man, you evil spirit." Then Jesus asked him, "What is your name?" "My name is Legion," he replied, "for we are many." And he begged Jesus again and again not to send them out of the area. A large herd of pigs was feeding on the nearby hillside. The demons begged Jesus, "Send us among the pigs. Allow us to go into them." He gave them permission, and the evil spirits came out and went into the pigs. The herd, about 2,000 in number, rushed down the steep bank into the lake and were drowned. Those tending the pigs ran off and reported this to the town and countryside, and the people went out to see what had happened. When they came to Jesus, they saw the man who had been possessed by the legion of demons sitting there, dressed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. Those who had seen it told the people what had happened to the demon possessed man and told about the pigs as well. Then the people began to plead with Jesus to leave their region. As Jesus was getting into the boat, the man who had been demon possessed begged to go with him. Jesus, do not let me. Jesus did not let him, but said, "Go home to your family and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you." So the man went away and began to tell in the Decapolis and how much Jesus had done for him, and all the people were amazed. This again may be one of those passages that's fairly familiar to you, and one which, if we were reading our Bibles as part of our daily worship time and study, we might read through it fairly quickly and kind of go, I remember that, yes. But there's some depth here that we really want to spend a few minutes and look at together. Again, we're talking about this idea of neighbor and hospitality. And when we talk about neighbor, as we've looked at in the last few weeks, we're talking not just about who is a neighbor to me, but to whom am I to be a neighbor? In this position, Jesus was the neighbor. He was the one who came to the man and reached out to him. The man was not able to do this on his own. He was possessed by all this evil that was within him. And yet he recognized Jesus and he realized that there was something about him that he needed. That's the truth about our world, isn't it? Evil and good. They're really strong contrasts. And, while I understand how in 2,000 years ago they may have used the concept of demons as the main way to explain a situation like this, uh, today we have maybe a little, and I do mean little, better understanding of the dynamics of human uh, personality and human development, and we understand that uh, demons or evil can exist in our world and does exist in our world. I truly believe in evil as a very obvious and real force in our world. And you don't have to look too far, do you? These days in the news and in other things, you see evil raising its head. You see people doing things that are just absolutely unbelievable uh, in the sense of stopping and evaluating why and what you did, and was it an appropriate reaction? Was the level of the response equal to the level of what it was you were trying to deal with? And oftentimes we find that no, evil has stepped in there and taken control of this situation and just blown it all out of proportion. We see it sometimes with an overreaction of authorities to other people trying to protest. We see it sometimes on the people trying to protest taking this as a evil speaking to them and saying, well, now that you're out here and now that you're controlling the streets, you can go get that TV that you've been wanting out of the department store. Just bang in the window and go on in and get it. And if anybody gets in your way, just knock them down. They don't have any business being in your way or whatever. That's evil. And there is evil in our world, and it's real. Whether it's a demon type spirit that you can identify with a name and a personality of its own, or whether it's that spirit of evil. I'm not going to try to debate that. I don't understand that completely myself, except that I am very convinced of the reality of evil in the world. And I know how subtle evil can be. I've experienced it in my life, and I know you probably have too. One of the ways that evil can really become a part of our lives and really have a powerful influence on us is the things that we do in the presence of others. I remember back in junior high. Do you remember junior high? Oh my, what a vulnerable time of life. I mean, you are not a child anymore, but you're not an adult yet. You're starting to get a few more privileges and be able to do more things independently. And yet you still don't have much experience to base your actions on. And you look around you and you become oftentimes more of a follower than a leader. And you fall prey in that sense to the influence of evil because you're not thinking for yourself. You're not exercising that free will that God gave to you. You're giving that over to the group. And I remember in junior high there was this young girl, not beautiful but certainly not unattractive, uh, not one of the greatest intellects in the school, but not a poor student either. Just an average young lady. And for some reason, she became singled out by her peers. I was one of them. And we just made life miserable for that young lady. And I look back on it now and I think, why in the world would we have done that? And I honestly cannot answer that. I mean, this young lady was not just subject to little picks and pokes as we changed classes and that sort of thing, not just a little word here and there, or maybe a facial remark or something like that to her. It was like Moses parting the Red Sea when she walked down the hall. Everybody was like, don't touch her. And people would just part as she walked down. And I think about, oh my, what isolation, what loneliness, what deep pain we must have caused that young lady. I've lost touch with her a long time ago, and yet I think about her often, and I repent often for my part in that. And yet, that's one of the examples of where I use for evil. Evil. That was evil. What we did was evil. It was not just in any way. It wasn't based on anything except our wanting to be accepted by the larger group. And one of the ways to do that was to be on the side of the group that was choosing to single out this young lady. We do that, don't we? Evil can influence us in so many ways. Evil can take good things, and that's really one of the most subtle ways that evil affects us. It takes good things. It takes sexuality. It takes power. It takes intelligence. It takes position in the world. It takes all kinds of things that are good in and of themselves, but it takes it beyond what is good. In the last few weeks, we've looked at several different things, light versus darkness, and we've looked at all the ways that evil and good cannot really coexist without there being extreme conflict. And there is in our world extreme conflict. And sometimes it just seems like evil is winning out, doesn't it? That's one of the reasons that Jesus calls us to follow him and to be his disciples and to be instruments of good in the world. Well, this man was clearly under the influence of evil. His ability to make free will choices for himself had been completely taken away. His body had been overcome by these evil spirits. He had even been empowered to do almost supernatural kinds of things, breaking the chains and that sort of thing. And he was really just out there in a way that no one could do anything for him. And what do we do with people who get into that state in our world? We put them down, don't we? We kill them. We imprison them. We control them. We say, you won't control yourself? We'll control you. And we do that. And there is a degree of justice in that, yes, especially when we use our legal system and trial system to try to figure out how much of this was actually premeditated and thought about, and whether the person really chose that line of action or whether there was something else involved that kept the person from being able to make a clear decision. Well, Jesus stepped on shore, and here comes this man running up to him, falling to his knees. And it isn't the man at all that interacts with Jesus, it's this evilness within him. And the evilness sees the parallel between the goodness of Christ and its own evil spirit, and it pleads with Jesus. I know, Jesus, is basically what the Spirit is saying. I know I can't overcome you. You're the one who has all the power and all the authority. And so I'm just begging you not to be mean to me. Please. And that's the way of the world, isn't it? When we see something's evil, we squash it. We go to war. We do all kinds of other things. We overpower it. And so the evil spirit was saying, please, promise me you won't torment me. Wow. Evil and goodness really do have a way of not peacefully coexisting. And that's a truth that you and I as Christians need to understand. Good and evil don't belong together. When we have two masters, there's a problem. Well, Jesus is not Casper Milquetoast, is he? He confronts things like this, and he confronts them head on. He speaks directly to the demon, and he says, tell me your name. And why would he ask for his name? Well, to have the name of another person or whatever was to have a certain degree of leverage or power over them. The demon says, my name is Legion, for there are many of us. In other words, there were many different ways that evil was affecting and being a part of this man's desperate situation. The devil doesn't wait for Jesus to pronounce a consequence upon him for his misdeeds. Instead, he proposes to Jesus a solution. Let us go and dwell in those pigs over there, and then maybe we won't have to go back to the abyss and be there with all the other demons, for it's a terrible place and we don't want to go back there. Well, some of this we just don't have the time to really sit down and try to talk through all of this and think through all of this. But Jesus agrees, and when the spirits possess the pigs, even the pigs, those unclean, despicable animals that the Jews would have nothing to do with, they couldn't tolerate the evil spirits either. They went crazy and they ran straight off a cliff into a lake and drowned. Not the end of the story, though, is it? For the man was still there. And the man was returned to his right mind. He was returned his ability to choose. His free will had been reinstated. And he sat there quietly before Jesus, and he was gathering himself together again. Jesus can bring us healing and wholeness. Now, Jesus warns us, in Luke, he talks about when he cast out the evil spirit in a young boy, he says, be careful, because when the spirit leaves, he's going to wander around trying to find a place to go. And sometimes he's going to look back on where he came from and he's going to say, maybe I can just go back there. And matter of fact, while I'm going back there, let me take a few friends with me, because that was a pretty good place. And so there needs to be something that takes place in the life of that person who's been freed from that influence of evil. Evil needs to be replaced with good. And that's salvation. That's coming to the point where we say, Lord, I am a sinner, condemned, unclean, and but for your mercy, your great mercy, I have no way to regain control of this situation. And God responds to that. And he brings us hope. And the people from the village came and they saw this man in his right mind, and they were startled. They had never seen anything like this before. Most of us are like those people from the town. We deal with evil. We brush against evil from time to time. We have little encounters with it. We have situations where people act in ways that just seem to be unbelievable to us, and yet we move away from it, and in a typical normal week or month or period of our lives, things kind of rock on okay. And that rocking on okay is, again, part of evil's influence, because things are not okay. Evil is real. One of my seminary professors wrote a book. I'll look for it on my bookshelf. There it is. It's called, Yes, Virginia, There Is a Hell. Yes, Virginia, there is a hell. It's written as a pastor, and a young lady in his church named Virginia was questioning him about hell and about how a loving God can condemn anyone to hell. He does a very good job of talking about that and helping us to understand, based on the Bible and on scriptures, the reality of hell. And hell is a reality. Sin is a reality. Sin is real. And sin needs to be confronted. Jesus never looked the other way. He didn't say, oh, poor man, and walk on into the village. He engaged that man and his need. And he calls for you and I to do that too. This man was returned to his right senses, and he did what most of us do at that point of salvation. He comes to Jesus and he says, Jesus, I want you to be the Lord of my life. I want you to fill me and help me to be that person that I know you created me to be. And Jesus said to him, just as he says to you and I, you've been given a gift. Be careful now. If you don't use this gift, evil can take over again. And so instead of just accepting this gift and moving on, use this gift. Don't just know about salvation. Don't just know about God, but know God and let God be an active part of your life. And you are called to be my disciple. The first Gentile apostle is commissioned by Jesus to go to his family and friends and others and share the good news of what God has done for him. The same commission God gives you and I. Go and tell others. Share. Don't embellish. Just be honest. Be direct. Be completely truthful. Or in today's political words, be transparent as you share with others the goodness of being a Christian person and how they too can receive this forgiveness. The first step is recognizing our need. This man certainly recognized his need, and he came to Jesus. Maybe that was one of the few acts that he was able to initiate on his own. I don't know that the evil demons would have ever chosen to confront Jesus, but the man managed to muster the things together and go to Jesus and acknowledge him for who he is. May the same be true of you and I, and of others as we share the good news of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. I hope you have a great week this week. Remember, evil is real, and goodness is real. And you, as God's children, are empowered with the presence of His Spirit to recognize those things that are evil, to recognize when something good's been taken to an inappropriate extreme, to recognize when enough is enough and you don't need more and you can use your energy and time for something different. And trust God in all the things each day. Thank you for enduring a few extra minutes this morning. I could have gone on and on about this passage because it has so much, and I hope you'll spend a little time thinking about it, using some commentaries, other study references that you have to glean a deeper insight into it, for it really does hold some very key thoughts for our Christian lives. God bless you. Have a wonderful week.